Southern Voices, which is a confederation of Southern think tanks. And we're going to talk about the post-MDG debate and how Southern voices are heard and integrated in this debate. So my first question would be, we have during the past 2 years seen a lot of advancement in the debate. We had a very high level UN we had progress in an outcome document recently. How do you feel our voices from the South and especially from Southern think tanks integrated in the global discussions?
We represent a part of the Southern voices, not all of it, because we are the research community, academic community in that sense. Our feeling is that all this discourse which is going on, notwithstanding all the broad-based consultations which have taken place, yet it suffers from a participation deficit from the developing countries, particularly the low-income countries. And it is all leading to some kind of a knowledge asymmetry. So we come from the policy community, the evidence-based policy analysis community. So we want to contribute that into the current discourse. Our major observation of all the discussions which have taken place and the inputs which we see is that first of all, these are quite high on rhetorics, but pretty low in terms of ambition and the goals in that way. So the issue is whether we are trying to fulfill the MDGs first and then move on with all the aspiration of the MDGs, or we are going to put new issues over there where the old traditional issues will be neglected in that way. So the major concern is that it is not only about poverty alleviation, but it is about structural transformation of this economy. And how does these new ideas of sustainable goals fit into this whole thing? We see that yet there is no balance amongst the three pillars of economic, social and environment, with the neglect of economic and social. And we also don't see the means of implementation of this new program. So beyond the traditional ODA, what other means of implementation will be there? And more importantly, will there be a change in the global system to add value to the implementation over there? I think the discussion on the global reforms of global institutions, regulations and rules are not getting at all traction.
I'd like to ask more concretely from you, what are the main points coming from the South or from the academic community that you think would in which areas would need global regulation, for example, be reformed in a way that is beneficial for
First, let me say that the major concerns from the evidence-based policy community of the South is that how to transform the economies, make them more diversified, more productive. And here the key issue is the growth of non-agricultural working population. And here it is about creating more decent jobs, better employment conditions in the growing urban areas as well as in the manufacturing and high value services and growth of infrastructure. So that is the key point. Otherwise the MDG, as you know, traditionally is more health and education oriented. Yes. We are talking about productive capacity and creating more decent jobs and employment in that way. Related to that is how does the global system helps us to do that? Say for example, access to markets, the trade. Today, the Bali meeting coming up in the 9th ministerial meeting of the WTO, but we are not hearing about any progress over there. In response, in contrast, we see the Trans-Pacific Partnership is taking place, TTIP is taking place, so it is breaking up of the multilateral system, which we think we are not happy about in that way. So, and the global shocks which are coming in a very frequent sequence in that way, and we are not ready to safeguard our achievements from that. So there are areas of trade, investment, finance, climate change, intellectual property right, access to technology, a huge set of issues out there for review under the new global regulations and governance.
And in following the discussions and also on a new global partnership, which is the umbrella of what you just said, where do you see the main challenges in terms of divergences, but also maybe opportunities for the different regions in the world working together? Are there main obstacles that you see from the discussions?
It is now very clear that those countries who promise 0.7% of the GNI, particularly the DAC OECD countries, they have to deliver. It is important to fulfill that commitment. But we also realize that even if this whole commitment is delivered, still there will be need for more resources. So obviously we will have to look for other sources of resources, and one of the most important one is domestic resource mobilization, the taxation within the country. That is, having said that, we are also seeing many countries are accessing remittance income, accessing FDI. Some of them have gone to the private capital market. And there are the new forms of finance we are talking about. And we should not forget about the possibility of South-South cooperation getting expanded. So I think there are new sets of instruments coming up. It is very important for the countries to make a very conscious choice how to fit in each of these instruments to their own global need and their domestic priorities.
And so during the next 2 years until we arrive at a hopefully new global development agenda, there will be a lot more research and work to be done on all these issues. What is Southern Voices concretely trying to do to raise the voices of the South in these days?
One particular area is that the development experience during the MDG period in this country. So we would like to relate our development experience in the area of health, education, finance, agriculture development, exports into and interpret them from the point of view of post-2015. This is one important area. Number two, all the candidate goals and targets which are coming up, how do they fit into our own priorities over there? And third is an important one, is that we are talking about data revolution. Data revolution is about transparency and accountability from our point of view. More data and more will give more accountability, more transparency. So how this data revolution will unfold at the country level, and are we ready for it? And if not, what needs to be done? That is also a major priority in our work.
Great, thank you very much.